Hello and welcome to this episode of Geeks Keep You Running. This is Season 3, Episode 2, and I'm your host, Jonathan Beck. And this episode is brought to you by Piedmont Technical Experts, where we focus on bringing you easy-to-understand technology that's reliable and benefits you and your business. In this particular episode, what we're going to be talking about today is the cloud. Everybody hears the cloud on a daily basis just about. And a lot of times people are thinking, well, what is the cloud? They may hear it in the form of a sentence like, just put your data in the cloud, or our services run in the cloud. But what is it? Well, that's the goal for this episode. We're going to help demystify and remove some of the fog surrounding what the cloud is. And hopefully give you a comfort level with using the cloud and actually show how you're probably already using the cloud today. All right, so the big question is, what is the cloud? Basically, the cloud refers to a network or servers that are accessed over the internet. Let's make that a little bit simpler. It just means it's someone else's computer. These servers can store data, run applications, perform all sorts of tasks without you needing to have specialized hardware or specialized applications running in your home or office. It might help to picture it this way. Rather than saving your photos or documents on your own computer, you might be saving it on someone else's super secure, high capacity computer, so you can access them through the internet, off your phone, off your laptop, or really any other device, because your data isn't tied to one physical machine. So that's what the cloud is. I know what you're saying. I get the concept of the cloud, but I still don't really know what it is. So let's give you some examples of different kinds of clouds. First, let's talk about email services. How many people out there have a Gmail account or an Outlook.com account? How many of you in your business use Office 365? These are all examples of email services that run in a cloud. They're someone else's data center. Next, let's talk about file storage. How many people are familiar with Dropbox? How many people are familiar with SharePoint Online or OneDrive? These are all examples of file storage clouds. Now think about your streaming services. Netflix. Those movies aren't on your computer unless you downloaded them. Netflix, when you run it through your Xbox or through your laptop, just streaming the data or streaming the movie, that's playing from someone else's equipment, someone else's server. Social media. Facebook doesn't live on your computer or on your iPhone or Android device. You're using your device to connect to Facebook servers. That's how you access Facebook. That's how you access X. That's how you access LinkedIn, things of that nature. So those are examples of just some of the few areas where you probably are already using the cloud. Okay, so now I know what the cloud is, and I've heard of some examples, but what's the benefit of using the cloud? Well, let's dig into some of those benefits. First, the cloud is flexible and easily scalable. If you go out and buy a server, you have to tell it how much disk space, how much RAM, how much processing power you need, which is all well and good because you probably sized it for what you need today plus a little bit of growth. But what happens if your environment just explodes? All of a sudden, that server is under-resourced and now you have to either replace it or upgrade it. In the cloud, you just dictate how much more storage you need or how much more compute power you need, and it's provisioned in. Obviously, there's a charge for that when you scale up in resources, but also the cloud allows you to scale down. So let's say all of a sudden you don't need that server anymore. You can just turn it off and stop paying for it instead of letting dust collect on a server that you're no longer using. Accessibility. This is the big benefit with using the cloud. You can access cloud applications pretty much anywhere you have an internet connection. So whether it's on your phone, on your tablet, laptop, etc., you can access your data that's stored in the cloud pretty much anywhere. Next, cost savings. Now this one is a little bit tricky because there is typically an ongoing cost to using cloud services. Where it's different than having on-premise resources like a server or a really beefy PC is that when you buy that server, you're out of pocket that entire amount, and then if you have to upgrade it in a couple of years, you're out that entire amount. So they tend to be capital expenditures or really high operating expenditures. Whereas with the cloud, typically for a monthly fee, you have access to resources as you need them. Next, benefit of having data in the cloud, it's on the cloud provider to provide you with updates. So whether we're talking about software updates to hardware updates, whether it's replacing hardware, upgrading software, all that's done by the cloud provider. Also, if your data is lost or there's a disaster at Facebook or Microsoft or Facebook is going to have to do a disaster recovery and they're going to get the data back. Now, it's important to note that when you're talking about cloud disaster recovery, Microsoft, Google, and all the others, they're not necessarily concerned about your individual data. They're concerned about getting their systems back up. So sometimes, depending on how critical data is, it may be a good idea to have a third-party cloud backup provider that is going to back up your cloud data, especially if you have a compliance requirement that says I have to maintain backups for X number of years, because Facebook or Google or Microsoft does not have that same requirement. In this segment, what we want to do is talk about how to secure your cloud environment. Number one, with any platform, whether it's a website or a cloud-based system, you want to make sure that you use a strong password. That password should be at least 10 to 12 characters. It should include a combination of uppercase, lowercase letters. It should include numbers, and it should include symbols. On top of that, you also want to make sure that you are using multi-factor or two-factor authentication. You also want to make sure that you understand your cloud provider's privacy and security policies. You need to make sure that your data is secure from anyone else that's using that same cloud. And if it's not, you need to be aware of that going into that cloud. And finally, anything that you put in the cloud, you need to make sure that you have verified that you have good, reliable backups, whether that's through a third-party backup provider or if the tool itself or the cloud platform has its own backup software. So let's talk about the business case for using the cloud. For small and medium-sized businesses, the cloud can be a real game changer. You don't have to front out-of-pocket expenses for a lot of hardware. You can have a subscription to Adobe Creative Cloud and have access to the entire Adobe Creative Cloud suite of applications. You can have a SharePoint site or a Teams collaboration site with Microsoft where you can professionally have a meeting with your clients. You can have a CRM platform, data analytics, tons of tools that's going to give you power and give you an advantage over some of your competition. So let's talk about a real world example where the cloud makes a lot of sense. Let's say you run a small architectural firm. Typically what you have been doing in the past is buying laptops or desktops with a lot of memory, a lot of processing power, really powerful graphics cards so you can do your architectural designs. And you have to buy this super expensive software in order to draw those various architectural designs. Well, today, those applications may be cloud-based. So they run in the cloud, you go to a website, you use the tool, the data is stored there, you get great performance, and it allows you to cut down on some of the resources that we're putting on the laptop, which offsets the cost of that cloud-based software. And now you are in talks with a monster client. You can give them access to the drawings over the cloud. So now they can see what your vision for that drawing is, and they can give you real-time feedback as you're going through the design process. So this is just another benefit of using the cloud. All right, so that just about wraps up our really quick deep dive into cloud technology. If you were intimidated by it before, I'm hoping this episode really brought to light what the cloud is and hopefully took out some of the mystery behind it. And when people say they store things in the cloud or their services run in the cloud, that you have a good understanding of what that actually means. So we definitely want to hear your thoughts, answer any questions you might have. If there's anything specific in the cloud service that you would like to discuss in more detail, or maybe you're concerned about privacy and want more details on encryption, let us know. Feel free to reach out to us via email, social media, or send us a voicemail. We might even feature your question in a future episode of Geeks Keep You Running. Big thanks to Piedmont Technical Experts for sponsoring our show and helping us bring straightforward, jargon-free tech solutions to everyone. Thanks for listening. I'm JB, and you've been tuning into Geeks Keep You Running, Season 3, Episode 2. Stay curious, stay secure, and we'll catch you on the next episode where we'll be talking about cybersecurity for everyday folks. Don't miss it.